Derek and Debbie, thanks so much for agreeing to do this. That's awesome. I know you've been through a lot, but you've also been an inspiration to many, including me. So I just wanted to ask if you would share anything about your experience of what happened and how you're doing medically. We've been praying for you. How are things going?
I'm leaving this one up to Derek. Medically, he knows what happened as I was induced for a while. So Derek knows all the steps that happened the first month.
Everyone knows we were burnt by alcohol in a fire in our neighbor's backyard. And Debbie remembers the first hour maybe, and then she was intubated for about 22 days after that, where she had been in and out of consciousness slightly, but not enough to really remember it. Within the first hour, she was sent from Pembroke Hospital to Ottawa Hospital, spent 2 days there, and then she was moved to Sunnybrook Hospital, and that is the burn center for all of Canada, the best care available. She started to wake up out of sedation after 5 days. They were reducing the sedation level to try to bring her around, and she started to slip a little bit worse. And after 9 days in the hospital, I got a phone call that Dr. Heilich from Toronto Sunnybrook Hospital had told me that your wife's lungs aren't looking as good as they did when she first came into the hospital, and they're filling up with water. We don't think it's pneumonia, but we'd like your permission to paralyze her and put her on a ventilator. And at this time, she was already medically induced into a coma. So she had breathing tubes and feeding tubes in her, and that was really upsetting when you start to realize that it's much more serious than I considered. And the next week, the phone calls where doctor said, "Oh, she's responding well to treatment." Did give a whole lot of support, and that's when it occurred to me that I had not been praying, and that was the only hope that I had. So after 22 days in a medically induced coma, I got a phone call that we had a patient at the hospital who gave us this number, and I said, she spoke to you? She said, yeah, she can speak. Her voice is very small, but yeah, she can speak. So we had our first conversation, and that was really uplifting, because up until that point, all we had was the power of prayer, and I really thank everybody, because it's all we had at that time. And it was so uplifting to hear that she had come out of coma and speaking, and that's all.
And then since then, back to Ottawa, and...
Yes, I woke up on August 10th, and on August 15th, I was sent from Toronto to Ottawa, and it was quite the trip. It was exciting. I was happy to be awake. It was my birthday. I was coming home closer to family. I finally saw Derek on the 16th. Derek was going through his medical stuff here. I had been in Toronto. It was really exciting to be close to home and people.
Wow. And you guys, I mean, like, I think I've had the privilege of witnessing how you've come along since then, and it's been touching to see how you have learned things you've shared that you learned, for example. Like, and you got home
September 24th. It was 10 weeks.
Yeah.
But when I first woke up, I said, people must think I'm crazy. I keep crying in joy. I told Derek, my heart just fills up, and it would just overflow. And I just had to let it out. I was never sad about what happened. I knew in my darkest times, I would say, Lord, you got this one, because I'm about done. And he had it, and he brought me through. And I am so blessed and so lucky to be here. Sorry, I get a little emotional. Life is really, really sweet. This has not been a negative experience, no matter what people might think. It's been so amazing to meet so many different people and have conversations. Prayer shawls. I had a prayer shawl that I wore every single day, and it started a lot of Christian conversations. We just met so many different people. So many people who are worse off than us. If we think we're bad. There are a lot of people who have it worse.
Wow.
Things really come into perspective when you're just laying on a couch, and if the phone rings, you know it's going to be the fourth ring before it can make it that 10 feet.
Wow.
And it really makes you appreciate just the ability of being able to walk. We had just bought a new vehicle, and that's pretty exciting to most people, but that didn't mean a thing. It's trivial compared to not being able to have your mobility, not having your wife at home. That's the hardest thing. It was amazing. Debbie's attitude, everybody thought it was so amazing that she had such great spirits coming out of such a traumatic experience. She's got burns to 35% of her total body area. And she's had nothing but good things to say, and just so happy, energetic, and an attitude unbecoming of such a traumatic experience. It's unbelievable.
And as I say, I know, like in hospital, well, both you guys, like your love for each other and your love for God has been like shone through to other people. Like I know when I visited you, for example, in Ottawa, Deb, you were talk about conversations you've had with people in the hallways or nurses and stuff. It's so bless you. So what would you say? I mean, you've already said it, but that would be a learning from all of this.
You want to start first?
Well, for me, the small things, the things you take for granted every day. Your health is so much, and you just take it for granted when you have it. And it's really humbling to be so strong one day and so helpless the very next day. And you really realize what is important. And you know, the finances at home, the grass getting cut at the right time, it doesn't matter. What matters is your interactions with other people and your health, your mental well-being. The things that I have taken for granted every single day turn out to be the most important things when you've gone through something that's so crippling.
Bless you.
I've learned to be humble, I like to think. Could be argued, I guess. But when you wake up and you can't get out of bed without two nurses, you have to learn to walk. Somebody's coming in to do your private care. It's a very humbling experience considering the week before I'm driving a motorcycle and cutting wood and gracious. Try to be extremely gracious. From the person sweeping my floor to bringing my food to the nurse cutting my food and feeding me. There's so many amazing people out there, and I feel so thankful and blessed for all of their care.
That's okay. Bless you. Well, I'm sorry to keep asking questions, but bless you. And the reason, of course, we're asking these things is because your experience, it will hopefully be, I'm sure will be, an encouragement to others who may be going through their own tough times of one kind or another. So maybe last thing, two quick last things. Anything you want to say? And again, you've already touched on this, but about your relationship with God that you've learned or gained or perspective. And I'll ask the second question at the same time because you might want to combine the two. Is there anything else that you'd want to say to folks who are?
I don't want to forget to mention how strong our church family is and how everybody just wants to step forward. So much help was offered, and what can you do? Healing is what has to happen, but everybody wants to help. It's just so much help was offered, and there's nothing anybody could do, but it's just everybody wanted to do gardening, send food, lots of phone calls and cards. But we have a really great community. It was unbelievable how so many people stepped up in our community, and our church family was leading in that. But I mean, even through work and family, I could have asked for anything and it would have been handed over without question. Anything at all. And it's very humbling to realize that much support is behind you and you take it for granted every single day.
Bless you. Bless you. Thank you. Anything you want to add to any of that?
I, I like to say that I was a Christian before, and I was, but this experience has just made me believe so much more. And it's hard to put into words. It's more of a feeling, just joyful and thankful and blessed every single day. And we have to remember to really appreciate the small things. You know, the wind in the trees, there is God. You know, the sound. If you think you don't hear him, you just need to stand silently somewhere. And I want to thank everybody for all of their help, for standing by Derek and the kids when I had no idea that Derek was even hurt until I got to Ottawa. He was going through his own stuff and he had so much support. So thank you.
Bless
My prayers were entirely just, Lord Jesus, please help her heal, and that was my prayer over and over and over again. And it's just been amazing to see how far she has come from the point of not being able to roll over in bed to now being able to run a day-to-day lifetime. The doctors and nurses, physiotherapists have been so impressed with how fast her recovery has been and how strong she has gotten in such a very short time. And that just wouldn't happen without God's healing power. So much strength was given to her that she's healing much faster and much stronger than she really should have. It's been a real blessing.
You guys have been a real blessing, even to be willing to share this. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a privilege for all of us to be your friends and companions on the journey. So thank you. Is it okay if I kind of close this time with a prayer?
Please.
Yeah. All right. Lord, I just want to thank you for Derek and Debbie and their family and all the prayers that have been answered, and also, Lord, for how they have cooperated and worked through this tough time. They've done their part, and just to hear the joy on this Thanksgiving Sunday, to give thanks in all circumstances, they're living examples. So Lord, continue to bless them and their loved ones with healing and grace. And Lord, for anybody who's watching this, who's going through a tough time, and probably we all are in one way or another, may we find encouragement from what we've heard and find healing, yes, but also find you and find thanksgiving in our hearts and blessing. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
God bless.